What up, keepers of the flame? Okay, so I said I would do a video on integration. Yes. Um. So what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means a lot of inner work. It means oftentimes your inner work kind of has to come to some sort of semblance and accumulation, which means you see all the different working facets and pieces of yourself. And son of a monkey, I would like to have a physical reference. So, what does that look like? Honoring the different facets of yourself, your emotional self, your mental self, your psychological self, or spiritual self, psyche, spirit. Um, your physical health, well being. Then you have career or purpose, life purpose, and you don't have to make a living, and it's nice if you can do that and get those balls a rolling, but understand that like your career and then your job might be two different things, but they still need to be looked at and addressed and made sure that they're keeping you in a healthy place, or you're keeping it in a healthy place, whichever is on your wheel right now. Then you have your financial state, social circle state, and all of those little fractals of yourself are create the whole. Okay, so understanding that a lot of times we compartmentalize because for the most part society kind of takes a giant sledgehammer and cracks you into these little pieces and shards, and oftentimes we neglect all those little pieces and shards that make up a whole life, that make us up in a totalitarianism-ish way, the whole unit. This is the basis for holistic medicine. You're looking at the whole system, what you're putting in, what's going out, not just in this hole, and remembering that this is your third kidney. Your skin is your third kidney, so what you put on it also makes a difference. Okay, so taking all of that into account, the whole person. And for a lot of people, this can be overwhelming because you are so busy just trying to survive. We're just trying to survive. That's, if you need to reference my yesterday's video between thriving and surviving, what helps you thrive and what puts you in survival mode, and navigating those waters correctly, however you need to navigate them. I don't think I'm in a place to tell you one way or the other. Like, if this is making you, putting you in survival mode, how can you get out of that modality? And I don't know if that means you change your perspective, you change how you behave around that person, situation, thing, place, whatever it is. That's up to you. But the integration process is an inner working. So how does this translate on our insides, right? Is anytime anything on the outside of us comes in and knocks on us in any way, shape, or form, whether it be good, bad, ugly, perfect, pretty, whatever the heck it is, whatever is knocking on our door is also a signal for us to remember that that's existing within us. Ooh. Okay, so what does that integration mean? It means when our breath gets taken away because we're shocked by a horrific happenstance that is in the world, we need to immediately go inside and be like, okay, why is this being brought up? And then you need to sit with that. And you need to come to an understanding of why it happened. It's kind of like I don't know if I necessarily want to say animus or anima work, But that's kind of the idea. You got to ask yourself the right questions. When you ask yourself a question, your brain has to answer, period, the end. So you have to figure out what the right questions are. I don't have that list. I don't have that list. Because I think those questions are going to be different for everybody, because not one mind is the same. It doesn't work. You can prompt, I guess you could have different prompts that work for the same people, but the same exact questions I don't think is really I am so anti. That is the one thing I am anti broad brush. Like this one method here is going to work for you all. Bend over, we'll give you a shot in the bum. It's all good. Get out. That I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think it never works. This is why the medical industry has what they call a Swiss cheese model, is because there's usually ginormous gaping holes of groups and particular demographics of people that are left out in the cold, that are not, it's not that one particular whatever, it's just not working for these particular demographics. Okay, so that being said, how to generalize this whole process, it's taking all the shards of yourself and putting them right in front of you and saying, I'm going to look at every single aspect of myself and what's toxic about it and what's healthy about it. Okay, so the trick is to be at this kind of foundational level of stability. Okay, to kind of be in that King and Queen of Pentacles mode where you can maneuver still, but you are not going to get knocked off your foundation that you've created for yourself. So there does need to be a foundation in order for integration to happen. Because a lot of times for me, when I would go into an attempt to take the masculine, feminine, the dark and the lights, or whatever the heck it was, and put those into a cylinder type shape and kind of work with those energies on the inside of myself. A lot of times, for me especially, because A, I'm a fixed sign, B, I'm Scorpio, so natural detective, I would get hyper focused. And if it tended to be more on the negative toxic side, I would often drown in those abyss waters, and it would take a hot minute for me to get myself back out of it and remember, oh yeah, I have these really cool aspects of myself too, and I am a whole person, and I'm this one little shard of a person does not make up the totality of myself. And that gets to be tricky, right? Navigating those waters in the big black abyss. But that's why you have that foundation. That's why you set your own flame the F on fire. Because when you are in the big black abyss, you don't need to be scared anymore because you have your own flame. Because you already know what sets you up. You already know what lights you from the inside out. And it doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you have 20,000 kids, or if you are living over here or over there, or blah, 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 or this is your circumstance, or that's your, whatever it is, you know how to tap into that energy immediately. If you can find your flame and you know how to ignite it, then you can start your integration work. And now I did not expect to be doing this, but I have really cool followers. What can I say? You guys, like, what I'm reading and you're telling me that I'm hitting it. You guys are ready. So here we are, I guess. The balance in your life that takes place between the understanding that there's a particular way of life that an obscene amount of people subscribe to, that likes to categorize everything into one thing or the other. That can make this process of integration extremely tricky at times, because it's going to be an internal process that very few people understand, much less accept, if that makes any sense. So this is foreign territory for a lot of people. I'm not saying everybody. I'm sure there's a brilliant psychotherapists out there, and probably a lot of astrologers too, that are like, yeah, I'll sit with whatever. I'll hold space for entire universes. That's fine. And that's cool. Those are probably the people that you need to be like exploring right now. When you have all these different shards of yourself, okay? I'm not talking fractals now. I'm not talking financial, social, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever parts of yourself. I'm talking the ones that are some outside source has come in to your space, your sacred being, and taken a sledgehammer to it and shattered you in these particular areas. I'm talking about bringing those shards back together and integrating them. That's what integration means to me. Bringing all the things into the whole. Good, bad, ugly, perfect, pretty, whatever it is. All the things. So that you can be whole again. Not that you're not whole right now, but it's hard to see the wholeness if you're not allowed to look at it. If you're busy taking bits and pieces of yourself and saying, okay, you go into this box over here that society has made, and you, little piece of self, go into this box over here that society has made, and then you, little bit and piece, go into this box that my family has given me, and then you, little shard, who does not fit because you hold all the toxicity and the shame and the boo-poo and the whatever you want to call it. This needs to be hidden. Because that's not a lot. That doesn't get a box. We don't even get to look at that. That's where the big bads are. We don't go there. Shh. Okay. We need to take it out and look at it. Okay. That's integration. Okay. It's taking all the shards that you have divvied up and putting them back where they belong, which is right here. Okay. And oftentimes those little boxes and constructs that our family and other entities or whatever, society, religions, communities, groups, whatever it is, social constructs, oftentimes you're gonna come to the realization that you don't fit in those boxes anymore. That's tricky. That's a difficult space to navigate. Because once you start being your whole authentic self, a lot of things will just automatically kind of fall away. Things that you never would have thought needed to fall away just fall away by default. And I can totally understand how this could be intimidating for people who are heavily attached. I'm a fixed sign, for F's sakes. I get it. But when you attach yourself to anything, you automatically will create a giant gaping box in your own life that says, and you're just scrolling on the side of that big box and say, this is all the room I'm saving for suffering. Okay. This is why I think the phrase, if you love something, let it go, was created. Because when you stage 5 cling something, what does that mean? Especially if it doesn't belong to you in the first place. If it can be taken from you, then it was never yours in the first place. It wasn't part of your whole. So why do you stage 5 clinging for? Okay. Again, holistic parts work. I think Teal Swan might have a better parts work by Teal Swan. Try to check that out. It's sitting with all those little cognitive dissonance in yourself that are like, I hold this belief, but I also hold this belief. And then I confuse the crap out of myself because all these little shards of me are trying to integrate. So I'm holding this belief system, but I'm also holding this belief system over here, and then this is over here, and then they come to war. So the problem is that one belief system is coming from in here and another belief system's coming from out there. So you need to decide for yourself, is it the belief system in my heart? Or is it the belief system that's like coming at me? That can be a tricky situation. So again, keeping your own flame. What lights you up? What makes you feel good in your own skin? Actually good in your own skin. Okay. Without the need for black magic and forcing your will upon other people. Because that's actually coming from a place of complete and total chaos and disarray. And if you're busy using the black magic to coerce and kind of group things and control the community and make them do certain things that you need them to do, that's coming from a place of, I mean, obviously there's shatteredness there, because if there wasn't shatteredness there, we could probably venture out and say not just hurt people, traumatized people, hurt, traumatized people, shatter people. Okay. So I think I just told this to Libra. If self-isolation needs to be the order of the day, then count your freaking blessings. Because if the universe is like, come over here, darling, you can't be over there. Don't say, but be like, thank you for protecting me from this, whatever you're avoiding right now and being protected from. Say thank you. Because oftentimes, if you venture out and try to engage in things that the universe doesn't want you to engage in, you're not going to have a good time, okay? Okay. So honor that which is being gifted to you by the universe going, darling, let me hold you for a while. Just forget everything else. Go inside. So that needs to be honored. And that's the invitation right there. That is your golden ticket and opportunity to do this inner work, this integration. And it can take a hot minute. It can also be draining, which you will need the downtime for. You don't want people knocking on your door and texting you and saying, hey, can we meet here? Hey, can you come help me with this? Hey, can you do this? Hey, I need you to do this thing. Hey, can you bake that? Blah, blah, blah. Can you come help with this project? Can blah, 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 blah. You know, all that needy McNeederton. When the universe is like, no, darling. That's it. Yoda, be nice, Beasky. Oh, Jesus. We're still learning to integrate the cats and dogs here. Okay, so what does it look like? What does it feel like? How is it performing in your life? What are we even doing this for? So the integration process, I think the best way to describe it is the dark crystal, is when the mystics and the sketchies start reflecting each other. When one dies, the other one dies. When one gets a cut, the other one gets a cut. And then at the end of the movie, they all, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the Dark Crystal, go watch it. The movie, not the thing on Netflix. We actually started watching that a couple days ago. I have 2 mature teenagers in my house yelling at a screen with this new Dark Crystal that I thought I'd never watch it. And I'm like, you guys want to watch it? Because we're hitting snow. So we got some time on our hands for cooking and watching Dark Crystal on the internet. But yeah, get into it. They love it. I've shown them that since they were little. So understanding that you bring those core pieces of yourself together. And then what do you become? What did they become at the end? Almost like deities. Their own deities. Oh my God. She did not. Oh, the devil's gonna come for her. No, no. No. I've made peace with that particular deity. Idea, concept, construct, whatever it is, which is just man created. It's not a, I don't know what you would call it. But as far, it's an energetic pattern for me. It's not a real demon or deity, if that makes any sense. It's just an energy. It's just a pattern. It's just an invitation again. It means you got some work to do. And it's just illuminating things. It's just some inner work that needs to be addressed. It's not you burning in some cesspool for all eternity. That would really suck. And what kind of... Anyway, so taking those parts and pieces and understanding that we all screw up. We're all going to miss the mark, which is the translation of the word sin. It's just missing the mark. So aim better next time. Learn what happened, right? So when we get inflicted with pain, we always want to know what happened. And that's the cause, that's the reason why pain exists, to wake us up and be like, anybody in there? You paying attention? No? Okay. There's your dose of pain. You want to come back to yourself now? Did you? No? You don't want to come back to yourself. Okay. Do you want to come back to yourself yet? I know, you're in agony at this point, aren't you? Did you want to come back to yourself yet? No? All right, I'm taking out your knee now. Oh, you're down on the ground. Ouch, that's gotta suck. Did you want to come back to you yet? Did you want to come back to yourself? No? Dang. We're gonna have to keep doing this until you decide to come back to self. Yeah, that's how the universe talks to us. Well, okay, how the universe... Hi, Bisky. Tis my love. Did you have fun observing the kitten doing the playthings and jumping to brand spanking new heights that you can't reach? Did you like to say hello? Dana, 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 Dana. Oh, shit. Say hi, Bisky. Who's it gonna puppy dogs? Okay. There. Dana for the day. So, taking those bits and pieces and figuring out, bringing the light to them rather than being scared of the darkness, because all that's in the dark is the unknown. And if we know about the atrocities, that means they're in the light. So the things that you know about life are in the light. What you know is light. What you don't know is dark. That's it, that's all. So if you're lost and you can't find your way and your purpose and your place and your bliss and your happiness or whatever it is, it just means it's in the dark. You don't know where it is, so you got to go in the dark and find it. Because that's usually where it gets buried. some point in childhood, your happiness, your purpose, your place, your whatever is buried in a childhood something. And usually that trauma is also connected to your purpose somehow, some way, whatever you want to call it. So, not being afraid of the unknown, not being afraid of the dark, because they're one and the same thing. Everybody thinks there's the big bad boogeyman in the dark. If you can label it and describe it, it's in the light. If you can label what you're afraid of, you've already brought it to the light. So what is it that you are afraid of? If you can describe it, label it, and picture it, and make it 3D in your own mind, it's in the light. So maybe there's an aspect of it that you just need to turn on its head and understand the other side of it. Maybe that's what you don't know about, and that's what you're afraid of. You can't see it from all angles. So you don't want to get any closer, and you don't want to investigate. But once you investigate and you understand, mental clarity comes in. And oftentimes so does compassion and understanding, and more importantly, discernment. Well, is that energy for me or is it not for me? If not, move on. It is that easy. You don't have to do anything about it. Well, I mean, unless it's causing you harm, then you gotta do some things about it in order to protect yourself from it. Absolutely. But all in all, if you know about it, it's not gonna hurt you. It's the stuff you don't know about that can hurt you, because that's the stuff that the universe will be like, okay, if you don't want to come over here and look at it, I will show you the devil energy. Heck yeah. So that's why you volunteer as tribute to go into the darkness and be like, all right, like I'm my blazing black arrow, all fired up and ready to go. Where we gotta look, where we gotta go. Again, picking what you suffer for. So integration means pulling all those different parts of yourself in and saying, yep, this isn't the prettiest piece of myself, but I still love it. That can be really difficult, especially when society has entrained you to not love those things, to be fearful of those things, to think that those things are monstrous and disgusting and horrific. For thousands of years, those different aspects have been basically turned into monsters. Sacred, beautiful gifts that we have to offer have been demonized and shunned and forbidden and hidden. Okay, so, and this is, I'm not talking about feminine here. I'm talking about whole, all of us. Masculine, feminine, light, dark, whatever. We have been lied to, horrifically so, for thousands of years. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years. That's a lot of healing. So if you're even on the freaking journey, if you even have a freaking, pair of balls with either on the inside or the outside to come over and like start digging in the deep dark abyss to figure it out, to find the truth, and you have the strength and the courage to do that, repeat after me. Okay? Because it's not the easiest, but it is worth it. It's totally worth it. And we're ushering in a completely different era. We went from Pisces and now we're in Aquarius. So, and Aquarius is all about knowledge. All about knowledge. I'm freaking living for it. So, when we can start gaining the strength and courage to go in and find those little shards of ourselves and just take them back. Just take them back and ask them into ourselves and say, I love you, I see you, and I know that I've turned my back on you, and I sincerely apologize for that. So how's I, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, because it's a part of you. It's a part of you that you need to invite back into yourself. And the completion process by Teal Swan also helps you integrate some pieces and parts. Especially if you have like childhood trauma, which I don't know. Most people alive today probably have some sort of childhood poo-poo. There's some that don't get me wrong. But if you didn't, I don't think you'd be here. Typically, you don't attract the people that you're not going to be able to give anything to or receive anything from. So typically. So remembering that the dark pieces, there's always a light to counter it. That's integration. There's always a dark to the light and a light to the dark, a feminine to the masculine. There's always a counterpart. And once you can bring those two things together and understand, I think for me, it was understanding that when I get deep into the medicinal plants and whatnot and studying herbology, oftentimes for the excess, if you've had too much of something, just a teeny tiny minuscule amount of the same exact thing will negate the symptoms immediately. Everything in moderation. So try to bite off bits and pieces, maybe put a time limit on it, that you do work on it, and maybe put, okay, I'm going to focus on the light and then a little bit on the dark, and then I'm going to go back to the light side so it doesn't get so overwhelming. But always remember that, like, there was a silver lining in that dark piece of you that you don't like or society's shaming. There's always a silver lining here, and that's often the thing that's going to heal you. And understanding, okay, I was in a particular place in my life where I just couldn't conceive of another way of existing. I did not have the tools or the know-how or any resources that I could have done this different. And the reason why that was there is so I can learn about this new thing here. I can proceed with courage and strength in this new problem that I'm facing. So if you can find that silver lining, the integration process, almost like autopilot, becomes really smooth. That's about all I have. Okay, keep your flame. Mwah! Love you.